Hey
Preseason
everybody.
is over.
Preseason's over. It was a fun preseason. You're watching the Garden Report, the final I wouldn't say final preseason edition, final preseason post-game edition of the Garden Report. We will be doing a preseason special next week, either Monday or Tuesday, heading into the opener where Bobby Manning will be in New York on Wednesday. And that's it. We're off and running, Bobby. So um is this my first show with starters? I'm not sure.
Did you do the first one? I think you did the first one, right?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there were some
So
starters that night.
I missed last game, but I did get a chance to watch. And then I watched and again, how much can you learn when they play against reserves, right?
Yeah.
So I guess this is like the first time the first Sixers game, you got no Embiid, no Harden.
Oh, you're talking the other side.
Yeah. So I'm saying in both. This is the first time starters played starters, right? And
Yeah.
granted, those starters are the Hornets starters, and granted, it's the preseason, so you're not expecting like high level defense or whatever it is. But like this is like what a regular they played this like a regular season game for the first 2.5 quarters, in terms of rotations and in terms of how they would play. And this is what you expect a team of this like talent level to do, and that's just absolutely just stomp on lesser opponents. This looked like they were playing with like children out there. I mean, it's not even competitive, Bobby. I mean, the I know we've had our talks, and I know you have your concerns about what they may or may not, what they can't do, or where they might be limited, or where the Achilles heel could be. But the talent is off the charts right now in terms of how far they've leveled up, and I think you just see it more and more when they play. It's like, I don't want to get like crazy about it, but like who's beating? I mean, this is a tough team to beat right now. this is going to be a really hard team for teams to contend with. They didn't even shoot well, and they put up 70 points in the first half. Not
So,
from three, at least.
so that's where I was going to start. You floated below 30% from three as you
Yeah.
built this 20-point lead in the first half off turnovers. Finally, this defense can create some turnovers and play disruptively. They set a franchise record if it was the regular season tonight, I believe I heard on the broadcast, for steals with 22. So it's going to be day and night. I said over the summer, adding Porzingis and now, of course, adding Holiday gives this team the chance to be the top defense in the league. And Jalen said in the locker room when I was talking to him after last game, we got to be able to win when we don't shoot well. And tonight, they won by nearly 30 while shooting 31% from three and generating 105 shots, which was just a ridiculous number.
Ridiculous. And again, that's what you do when you get the team to turn it over as much as they did. 22 live ball steals. Is that what they ended up with? 22?
Yeah.
22 live ball steals, 21 I'm seeing here. Maybe oh, they added, yeah, 22. Holy jeez.
Unbelievable.
I was telling Ahmed to make that lower third when it was in the teens, and now it's like 22. Just banana land. Derek White had like 14 blocks. I think he was only credited with 3. It was just
They played a
silly.
perfect game tonight. Absolutely perfect, just in terms of the execution, the
Yeah,
defense,
but
the
they
connectivity.
were garbage from 3, and they shot poorly from the free throw. They only had
But
17
good
free
looks.
throws.
Good looks from three. They just missed them in many cases.
A lot of
I,
good looks.
I thought the offense, especially the starters, looked great together out there. For anyone who wants to see this be the starting lineup, you now have two electric performances by that group across the board. 20-point advantages for a lot of these starters here tonight. And another strong effort, I thought, by Peyton Pritchard, 8 assists. You never imagined seeing that from him a year or two ago, and he looks like he's reached another level as a playmaker here, which is really the story of his preseason beyond the big scoring nights early. So I think you know what you have here, more or less, in the top 6,
And this
certainly.
sums it up for me. I'm like, oh, like finally, like it's like, all of this hesitation with, do you pull the trigger? Do you do this thing? Do you get these guys? They're so good. Holiday and Porzingis are so good. You know what's the best thing about this? No disrespect to Marcus Smart, because it's not intended to be, but everything positive you say about what's going on now will be a referendum on the people who on the departed, and it
Yeah.
isn't necessarily meant to be. But Smart was erratic, despite the fact that he was a leader and the heart and soul and a grit guy and a glue guy. But he was erratic. It really feels like you got a lot of grown-ups in the room right now.
And that's been the feel around camp. It's been a focused, locked-in effort.
Yeah.
Tatum said after the last game, the practices have been incredibly intense, long, focused, a word you've heard a lot. You had the ownership group raving over the practice that Holiday first arrived for. So it's been a pretty intense, locked-in camp. Everyone seems determined. The sacrifice quotient, which is something you've talked about, has been on high priority for pretty much every star across the board. I love Tatum's comments after the last game about how important it is for everybody to take a little bit of a step back, and praising Horford for coming off the bench in that game. Great leadership by him in that spot. I thought some more good comments by him there. I thought he played a strong game tonight too early, despite not shooting great. He looks like he's in a good spot playmaking, rebounding, defensively. He's looked good too out there these last couple of games. So he's in a good spot. Brown's shooting the ball really well too, and we'll get to him, some of the highs and lows we've seen from him. But his three-point shot seems a little bit more there to start this year. White's actually looks a little worse, but
it's just not going in. But the form looks the same.
Right.
But with Brown, and again, I think so much the key to this season is I think one of the keys to Brown is if you ask him to do less, he'll be able to do more. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's like every time I buck Bobby against things like Point Tatum and Brown taking on more of a whatever role, it's because I just don't think that plays to their strengths. And the more you ask them to do it, the more you're asking them to do stuff that's not in their comfort zone, and the more you're going to get mixed results. When you ask them to do less, which is like, so Jalen, eventually ball's going to swing to you on offense, and you're just going to be able to do whatever you want, attack, shoot, because they're not going to be able to cheat off other guys because there's so many other options there, and just do your thing. And then that's what he did tonight. I don't think he forced anything. He just he made his shots. He took it to the basket when he had to, but the ball wasn't really sticking tonight.
No, it moved.
The ball moves
incredibly, yeah. And you have a number of playmakers across the board here. Holiday squeezed in a perfect pass by Mark Williams to hit Porzingis, I think in the second quarter. Probably the best pass I've seen him make so far this preseason. Porzingis, that's one thing I'm still looking for with him. He's been amazing. He's been perfect, really, offensively and defensively. He's made a huge impact too. But one assist through these 3 preseason games for him, or 4 now, whatever number of games it's been for him. So the playmaking is not really there from him yet. But Tatum looks strong in that department. Brown too. White's always going to make good decisions. Turnovers up a little bit for him. And like I said, Pritchard's really made some strides in that area. So it's going to be playmaking by committee again. But John, it's still going to be in Tatum's hands a lot. I still say he'll probably lead the team in ball time. Maybe Drew evens it out a little bit alongside him. But the key is it's going to shave down Brown's ball time, ball handling responsibilities.
Please.
And, pick and roll numbers, all of that. And he'll be more in the finishing role than in the creation role, which suited him well last year and should suit him even better this year.
Yeah. And, there's no doubt about it. We'll get into a few things. I think we got to look into what do you make of the rotations, who's coming in when, who is not coming in. And Bobby, I was going to check on you around the third quarter and see if you were okay. I started Googling to see if like Kornet had like an emergency or like had a baby or something and had to leave the game. Maybe it was by design he wasn't playing. If it was not by design, we have a developing situation on our hands. But it's
Josue's had a hot take on that front. I see.
Josue, I wish I knew where Josue was. If Josue were around, I would let Josue have his turn at giving that hot take. But I'm afraid I don't know where Josue is. I'm afraid to put him on. He looks frozen right now, doesn't he?
So frozen.
Let's check in on Josue. Oh, he's gone. I didn't get to put up frozen Josue.
He looked frozen.
I was staring at him for a while.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think that guy.
We'll let him give his hot take when it comes. Do you want me to hit on that now, though?
No, let him have his take.
Everybody's waiting to hear what I have to say about that.
No. We'll let Josue have it and talk about it himself. But and again, I this is going to happen a lot. It's preseason. I don't want to take the victory lap on the yes. Marcus Smart was never the point guard this team needed, but I think I think people are gonna, if they haven't realized it yet, they'll fully realize it soon into the regular season how different it's going to be tonight. How different.
Yeah, you have a higher playmaking ceiling, I think, with Drew. The turnovers
He's
actually
just
do
yeah, I know.
lean a little bit against Drew when you compare the two. Believe it or not, I think that will surprise some people. But Holiday does get a little erratic with the ball. You saw it last game. He kind of went up for a 3-point shot, stopped, and just threw it away.
He had one play tonight where he lost the ball like 6 times and still ended up scoring.
Yeah, but no turnovers officially in this
Yeah,
one.
I
So
know.
a big,
But he
big,
did. He lost it twice, got it back, got his own rebound on a wild shot, and put it back up
and
and in.
everyone loved
So
the nutmeg play last game, but that was
yeah.
pretty erratic
No, but
too.
I mean, he's a three. Look, he's a 3 assist guy. But when you're a point guard that's dishing 7 or 8 assists, that's a manageable number.
A 3 turnover, yeah.
So that's about who he is. But you're right; he can get a little loose with it too. It's not all about assist numbers, and it's not all about assist to turnover. It's about making the right read the majority of the time, and I believe Holiday does do that. But yeah,
And the big thing for this team as a whole across the board is that the reads are so much easier with the talent they have now. You're not looking around at all the shooters 5 wide. You have some guys that you can throw the ball to inside that are willing to set screens. Holiday's such a willing screener. That stuck out to me the last however many games. Not that Smart wasn't, but he's breaking right in that regard and making his presence felt in that area of the game, which is good if he is going to be a starter here. And we'll get to that conversation in a little bit. He's really going to free himself up and others by setting those good screens. But across the board, it's everybody's job, John, to pretty much just hit Porzingis. Find him, get him the ball, let him shoot as many shots as he possibly can, because I know it didn't go in as often as it did earlier in the preseason for him tonight, but the shooting's just been ridiculous for
yeah.
him. It's 60% from the field coming into this game, 61% from three. The guy's just going to make shots. You see him at practice every day, just hitting everything he puts up. It's ridiculous. And again, the competition, not great coming into tonight for him and others, but I think he's going to just hit the ground running this year. I've been so impressed by him. The post-up game really hasn't been there like you've looked for with him, but for Brown, for
For
Tatum,
who?
for Porzingis,
Yeah,
but
more than it is. I mean, they are. I mean, one of the least postingest teams in the NBA. So any move to the post, you want to see Porzingis get some work in there. You want to see Tatum. We've always said get some work in the post.
Tatum's been good in that
I
area
had
this
a lot of
preseason.
people say to me, Bobby, and I'm curious your take, and I'm curious what the chat thinks here too. I had people DMing me last game, which I missed. That Tatum was like a brick house, just running over people, and just I see he looks a little. I do think he looks a little bigger too.
Yeah, and
I
he's
still
worked on
don't
it.
think it's. I still don't see it translating to the finish stuff. I still think he's doing the cute Euro in the lane, dipsy do. I still want to see him go stronger. I'm not seeing him finish through contact as well as I would, but people said he was last game or that they're seeing it. Are you seeing it?
I saw 2 great finishes from him powering through guys last game for
Yep.
sure. Number of sets down low for him, willing to play the post area where he can pass well out of too. So yeah, last game was a masterclass for him in that area. He's worked on it with Sam Cassell. You see Cassell saying, get into the chest, bump me a little bit here. I haven't gotten the chance to talk to Cassell about it yet, but some really good looking sessions, encouraging looking sessions after practice for those two together. And Cassell's really been by his side for every second we've been able to see of shoot around practice, all the rest down the line there. So Cassell's challenged them. He's saying, I saw him emotioning a little bit too with the arm there, and Tatum kind of goes back and says, that's where he ends up picking a lot of the offensive fouls up. But Cassell wants him to be physical. He wants him to bump and bang down low, especially with the 12 pounds added, like we've talked about, John.
Yeah.
So he's capable of
He
that.
looked
One
bigger.
thing he
Look, and I
always
saw a
had was
couple highlights
footwork
last
too.
year when he cut through the lane and did what he did, but it didn't look like he finished through contact. It looked like he just got to where he wanted to go. I want to see, if he's actually kind of initiating it, getting the bump, playing through it, or if he's still kind of relying on the let me get it up this way, sort of thing, which I saw at least one of tonight.
Yeah, a lot of complaining from him last game too after an early call he didn't get. That kind of
People are
creeped
coming
throughout the
at me and
game.
saying he was, but yeah, like I said, I saw a couple highlights. I want to see more, but people were telling me he was trucking people.
Oh, yeah, in the New York game especially. You didn't see as much tonight, but he had 14
Yeah,
free throws over the last 2 games coming in
yeah,
this one, just 2 tonight.
yeah,
So I think he saw more of what the Tatum are used to tonight in this game.
totally.
But it's been an emphasis for training camp for sure, getting him post looks. Drew Holiday's really good at that too. You're going to see him go after guards and really just truck them in the lane. That's a big
Yeah,
part of his game.
they
And
were talking
Porzingis,
about it in one instance where he went, at Hayward, and Hayward's not a small guy. Hayward's got a couple inches on him. I just did my least favorite thing, and I referred to him as Haywood, which Mike Gorman still does, by the way. Hopefully, in his last year, he'll figure that out. Gordon Hayward, and got a good shoulder into his chest and knocked him off, and was able to get a clean shot. So you can see that White can play physical. I mean, they can really, Holiday, you see it too. He doesn't really get off the ground, but he's got a clean look because he's just bodying his guy off to create space in the
yeah,
lane
he does
there.
a
It's
great
it's pretty
job with that.
impressive. Really good
Yeah,
job.
for Porzingis, I saw it again tonight. Don't post up from 15 feet with a guy underneath you and just kind of toss it up. That's where he's at his worst posting up. He's got to get deep. He's got to have the guy underneath the rim or a smaller guy on him. They can just go right up and over. But there was at least one instance tonight where I saw him kind of get caught at almost the free throw line as he's turning and shooting that hook shot up. And it just ends up being a very flat shot for him. I almost wonder how many of his post ups last year were kind of those like weird in between shots for him, because he does get caught away from the basket a little bit, given that he's not one of the stronger guys, even with his height. So, yeah, his post up game is going to be interesting to follow. Joe's really said that they're going to embrace that area. He also has that elbow jumper too, so it's another mid range shooter that they can lean on just for some offensive versatility. But the 3-point shot's still going to be their thing, John. Would they have 45 tonight?
Yep.
Still going to be their main source of offense.
Yep.
They looked deadly the other night, hitting a million of them against the Knicks in that game. But tonight, slowed down a little bit. But good to have the transition runouts. They're just going to be unstoppable in transition with the group of players they have here.
Yep.
So you're glad to see the defensive emphasis. It's different, John, right? The defensive intensity here.
It is. It's just preseason because you don't know how much pushback you're getting in either direction here, but it doesn't look like they're playing an all-star game right now. They're play. The best part about the defense, and again, you had this with Smart too, but I I think people will appreciate this watching Holiday for 82. He never stops. He just never, ever, 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 ever stops. And then White's that guy too. Those two guys are relentless. They're really freaking annoying, with people and just moving their feet and staying in front of guys. It's a real pain in the ass having those guys hound you. And as we said, is if there's a trickle down, Porzingis is 7'3" all day long. So I mean, again, it's there and it's there on the back line. And if you've got Tatum and Brown even pretending to play defense, with their length and being able to cut off passing lanes and their ability to, again, Tatum, I think has the ability to be an elite defender when he wants to. The defense is there. You're right. It's a matter of commitment. Real quick, we want to tell you guys a couple things. Heading into the season, you definitely want to get involved here. With FanDuel. It's football season. We all know that. Everybody loves football, loves to place their bets on Sunday, but NBA season is around the corner as well. Starting next week, NHL is underway. So there's a million different reasons to get involved with FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network, and also the official partner of the NFL. We should mention that as well. So the other reason to get involved is you get this special offer when you go to fanduel.com/Boston. You get 200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Once again, fanduel.com/Boston. Go there, sign up, download the app. Really easy to use, super easy interface. In addition to this deal, there's a lot of different specials running all the time and different fun things that you can do when you get in on the action. So again, fanduel.com/Boston, bet $5, get 200 in bonus bets. Other thing we want to tell you guys about is Odds Are. And Odds Are is not a sports book, but it helps you basically make smarter bets, which is what's cool about Odds Are. It uses AI and different types of analytics, and it makes you better at betting, machine learning. It suggests the right bets. You download the app, sign up for the account, let the data analysis kind of guide you through everything, the point spreads, money lines, over-unders. Green means go. That's a smart bet. Yellow, you're on your own. If you see red, don't make the bet. I've been loving it. It is a fun experience. It actually does make things easier to do it, and you're not just kind of winging it and trying to figure out what to do on your own. Celtics All Access listeners get a 30-day free trial. Once again, all you have to do is download that app. 30-day free trial. Go to oddsr.com/Celtics. That's oddsr.com/Celtics. Check it out and get in on the action. So, Bobby, we're going to transition in a minute. What is this? Oh, that's funny. Amit's doing funny things. We'll tell you about those in a minute. First off, we're going to welcome in Josue to the show. And what's up, buddy?
What's going on, fellas?
So, I was gushing earlier. You got me gushing about the Celtics.
Really?
Well, I mean, I've felt this way all along. After the trades here, I just, this is how
excited,
I feel.
Josue. He's going to be in the stands again in November, waving the towel.
First week of the regular season.
Get me to a Nuggets game. These guys are unstoppable.
Wait, are you telling me? Hold on a second, John. You telling me you don't tell me you forgot about Rob already. The season hasn't even started yet.
Again, just because Jimmy misrepresented my point of view on Rob.
Yeah, he really did.
The only thing I didn't want to do about giving up Rob was my emotional attachment and connection to Rob Williams, which is still profound. I will never get over Rob. I won't.
Yeah, but you said it. You said it from the very beginning. That's the part that Jimmy leaves out when you said at the very end, yes, it would hurt, but I got to do this.
You get over it because you're getting these players, and again, you've leveled up in talent to a point where this is a better team than they've ever had. Is this a better team than the Kyrie Gordon one? Yeah, of course it is, because you've got Tatum and Brown fully evolved into superstars at this point. This is the best talent there's been here since the last big three. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's that good.
Well, let's go with some of the rankings that have been put out recently, because you pretty much have 5 top 70 players or so here.
I mean, excluding ESPN, which inexplicably left Derek White out, which honestly I think was like, I would have thought they just forgot about him, but they actually included him in the last guy's off
honorable mention.
Right.
The honorable mention. I would have thought somebody was just like, guys, we forgot to put in White. He should be like 60. What do we do? Just stick him in and knock one guy out? No, they intentionally did it. But everywhere else in the world, I mean, the metrics people, Bobby, have White as like the 35th best player in the NBA. Like, I mean, he's an analytics darling. I have no idea how he doesn't make this list.
You know what?
Grant Williams made the list.
Yeah, he didn't make the ringer list. He probably shouldn't make any list.
No, he shouldn't make any list. Anyway, no lists.
Porzingis is the one, right? I'm blown away. I didn't expect this from him. I had concerns about the fit. It's obviously a different team now than the one we kicked around originally, too, with Holiday coming in for Rob. I think that made a lot more sense when it comes to Porzingis and the big situation. But just the shot making and how much he draws attention off even the Jays just because of how big he is and how much of a threat he is, the moves he has, but really the defense. And that's one thing I did expect to be great, John. But it's been even better than I expected. He's so poised against the pick and roll in there. He creates so many deflections. Every shot he contests has pretty much turned into a miss, it feels like, save for a few tough shots against him so far. Again, the competition hasn't been great. You wish you could have seen him against Embiid. Robinson's okay for the Knicks, and Mark Williams is young and a little inexperienced here. So we'll see him against some of the better centers in the league. But I don't know, Josue. I just continue to be very impressed by him. I get ahead of myself a little bit.
No, you're not. Because the reason why you're so impressed, just as I am, is because the Celtics haven't had a guy like this in a long time.
You're right.
consistent scorer, can score from around the free throw line, mid-range, three-pointer. I mean, you name it. And it's like we've been saying ever since the trade happened. He's not asked to be the focal point of the offense, so he's comfortable. Obviously, he's in a great situation to compete for a championship. But yeah, no, I don't think you're overreacting here, because it's just you're seeing the benefits of the offense of having someone like that. And there's so many different options that they can do. You're kind of using him sort of like what Al used to be to the offense in a sense, but it's more like Jokic, right? Like you got that shot, you know?
Yeah, in terms of shot making, again, I'm still waiting for the passing to flash from him. Hasn't really yet, but maybe they don't need it to. Maybe he's just the kind of guy you throw it to and you want him shooting. I know that's always been Joe's approach to limiting turnovers,
Right.
is just shoot the damn ball. But it's impressive right now what they're doing, especially for a group that got together so recently, John. Like, they look like they're clicking pretty fast here, and that's going to be the key, because if anything was going to hold them back early, it'd be that little bit of disconnectivity we saw in that Knicks game. They turned the ball over a lot that night. Tonight was much more sharp, much more connected, especially for Holiday, who will continue to debate the starting lineup here. I think there's good arguments in both directions. But if he's looking this good and connected with the starters, there's a much better chance for him
And
to
it's,
start.
again, I think the thing with Porzingis that we're catching up to a little bit, right, is that he just disappeared, like, from our consciousness, right? He was there,
Deservedly so.
and deservedly so, both with injuries and just kind of, not great situations, and just, but he just drifted, right? When he came on, I mean, they were talking about, I mean, he was legit considered like a top 5 NBA asset, and then just things went south. He kind of faded, and people just thought about him as like an also ran, just not really someone that mentioned in the upper echelon of NBA players. Then he kind of comes back last year. And then, I mean, at what point in the year did you notice the type of year he was having? It took me like most of the year to like look over and be like, holy crap, look at these numbers, like he's really playing well. And I think Brad's just sitting over there like salivating, like, yup, like always wanted a guy like this. Oh my God, I want to get him.
And Danny was looking too.
And he did, but I mean, the problem is you're looking at, 50 games, 43 games, 57 games, 48 games. Just, it's a consistent, risk factor there. But the reality is the numbers are fairly consistent year over year. You weren't thinking about him in the same vein, but like his numbers are remarkably like the same. And then the entire run of his career, if you break him down, the only thing that's missing is the games played and being in a situation where people notice what he's doing, because he was in a couple of shit situations and nobody really cared.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the initial situation he had in New York, that didn't help his reputation, I feel like, right? People kind of thought this guy's arrogant. This guy might be, he even said himself, like, I was ignorant back then. And I always pinpoint the fact that he walked out or he didn't attend his exit interview, which is like, for a rookie, that's unheard of. So like that didn't help his reputation, but his talent and staying healthy was always a problem. So I feel like he was easy, people just forgot about him. But you're seeing him in a great space right now. And I think the addition of Porzingis, the addition of Jrue Holiday, Tatum and Brown taking another step, what this year means to them, I think all that has to do with ESPN just saying, you know what, this is probably the year, or maybe they're assuming this is the year that Derek White goes back to being, less of a factor. And I don't think that's true at all. Like, if you've been following this team the way we have, we know that he's easily been one of the, better complementary pieces that Tatum and Brown have ever had. So we only see that getting better. We don't see that as like his role will be reduced or that he will be someone that gets less minutes. He's in the mix. He's a starter. He's one of these top 6 starters that everyone's been saying. We've all been saying all month.
Yep.
Yeah, the big factor is the health, and it's good to see that he can coexist with the other stars too, because we haven't really seen him do that either. But yeah, it's been interesting to hear him, Josue, talk about how he was just, I think, ignorant was the word he used.
Ignorant,
in his career. Yeah. So he didn't really care about anything, he said. And so the maturity, looking himself in the mirror too at aspects of the game where he struggled and improving them was good to see too.
Well, that was the thing. Remember, we were having this conversation. I remember he was being floated as like a trade deadline, or like we threw his name out there before.
For the Kemba stuff, the Kemba dump.
But even still, right? But like last year or two, we've
floated
him.
The way they got Al, you mean, right?
And even when we talked about him in the offseason, when they did get him, like, I remember Jimmy saying, like, and we were all kind of talking about it, like, isn't he kind of a dink? Like, doesn't he have that reputation? Like, didn't he kind of, and this and that? And the reality is, yeah. But he also acknowledged it and, was like, yeah, I was dumb then. And he doesn't, if you didn't know anything about his past or about anything else, and you just walked in and you met him, you'd be like, this guy's great. He's a great interview. He's thoughtful. He's honest. He's professional. He looks like he's here and he's ready to work. Like, there's nothing that you would think would constitute like diva baggage sort of stuff.
Maybe 2 years in Washington did it to him. He's like, holy crap, this can't be the rest of my career.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I mean,
no, I don't think you're that far off.
I
can see him as
he was irrelevant there. Even
that's what I mean.
Well.
If you're him, you're not sure how long that's going to last, or if your next situation will be much better. Coming from the Dallas situation with Kyrie or with Luka, and people saying like, "Oh, this is never going to work," and that was a nightmare. Like, he had no idea what was next for in his career.
Yeah, because he effectively got dumped from Dallas for Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans.
He got dumped from New York. They just opted not to re-sign him,
Well, no, they traded him to Dallas, but
yeah, but I mean, they wanted nothing. They didn't want him anymore. They're like, we're not.
They were shopping him around.
They didn't pick up his option, and they shopped him, right? Yeah. So like, they were done. They were done. Yeah.
Yeah, and the injuries, that's still the thing, right? The injuries are still going to lurk with him, and he looks fresh and spry right now. I'm actually surprised how well he's moving, because one thing about the last couple of years here is he looked a little more ground bound, definitely less athletic and floating around for dunks and such. But that two-handed slam he put down in that Knicks game we were at, Josue, was something. He got way up there. He looks like he's in great shape, and even he continues to say he's still working his way into mid-season shape after the injury over the summer. You really haven't seen the effects of the injury either. I still see him wearing a little something on his foot, and that thing might pop up here or there where they have to rest him and manage him. But so far, so good, and that's the thing. Are you equipped to lose him potentially for a stretch? Certainly.
No one is equipped to lose good players. That's the whole point. And you watch any team lose one of their better players, and it throws them completely out of whack. Phoenix loses Booker for 20, 30 games last year. Denver plays a whole season without Murray. And then next year you get them, you're a championship team. The difference between being a championship team and not is having all of your stars healthy. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, one of these guys go out, you're not the same team anymore. Yeah. No one can withstand an injury to a star. No one.
But if a guy's injured every year,
I know, but that's
reach into the year and
you're
be like,
rolling the dice and you're hoping you enter the playoffs with it. But I mean, geez, Celtics might have still been playing in the finals. Jason Tatum doesn't roll a freaking ankle. I hate making excuses, but like, it means a lot. You can't play without your best players at that level against the other best teams, except if you're Miami, and apparently you don't need anybody but Jimmy Butler to win.
I can't wait to see them next Friday, see how they're looking. But
yeah.
This guy's going to make a big difference. There's no doubt about it. The trade looks great in retrospect so far. Even the contract, if this is the level he's going to look at, looks like a no-brainer here. But it's early. We'll see him against some of the bruisers. We'll see what the lineups look and how they work out for him. But so far, the shot making, rebounding certainly, and the defense especially, the biggest impact areas for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, I do want to get into what's so funny is we spend how many shows, Josue, like barking at Bobby for starting the Kornet talk too early.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like, stop it, Bobby. It's too early to talk about Kornet. But in this show, the chat has been begging us to talk about Kornet and Queta and what's going on there. And Bobby has already teased your like super hot Kornet take, which I'm curious. You have a theory. You have a Kornet theory. We're gonna get to that in a. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because you're looking at me like,
I hope you remember, Josue.
You're looking at me like, is that not ready for TV? Did you just out somebody again, Bobby? That's what you do.
No, he already put it on MSG, but it hasn't been on this show. Josue's Kornet.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about it first. First off,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
As we call this a tease, but first off, we want to tell you guys about HelloFresh, which. Bobby, oh boy, you love it, right?
Yeah, and I'm a guy who loves to cook, but even if you don't, They make it easy. They make it quick. They make it manageable. And they give you everything you need. You keep saying it, John. Like, the worst thing you can end up with is a missing ingredient.
Yeah, dude, I have a bag of scallions right now because like I needed like 2, and like those things go bad in like a day and a half. And I just needed a little bit for like, 1 dish. And then I'm just like, and it's not like you spend a ton on the bunch, but it's like I hate throwing it out. Like, what else am I gonna make with these scallions? Every single time I get cilantro or parsley, like I just use a few sprigs, and the rest the next day is like
It's like
all wilted and sad.
I was just gonna say, just staring at you like
it's just like droopy. It's lost all. It's like you buy it and it's like it could literally like cut someone, and then the next day it's just
you feel
sad.
so guilty. You're like, damn, I should have used more of that.
I killed the poor cilantro. So that's one of the things you get here with HelloFresh. It's America's #1 meal kit for a reason, because you have all these fantastic recipes you can go after and get. And then, as we said, you don't have to go to the grocery store. You're not going to overspend and buy a bunch of stuff you're not going to use. You're going to get exactly what you need, pre-portioned ingredients, already separated out, farm fresh, and then bing, bang, boom, little recipe card. You read it and you're done. And that's that. And if you're busy or you're on the road or you're covering the Celtics and traveling like these guys are, or you're me and you've got more kids than you should have had, then yes. Sometimes you just stuff's got to happen for you fast, right? So you do that. 15-minute meal options, high protein options, fall feast. Are you kidding me? Apple cider cake with caramel sauce, barbecue pulled pork nachos, whatever you want, go get it. So again, go to HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. Use that code CLNS50 for 50% off plus free shipping. Once again, there's the code HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. Use the code CLNS50. 50% off plus free shipping. We are also still doing this, guys. We're doing it for now. We're changing this deal in a little bit. We're giving t-shirts out still. If you fill out a form, you get a t-shirt, Garden Report t-shirt. We also have a merch store. We finally did it, okay? So there is now Garden Report merch on CLNSmedia.com.
Yeah, I want to check it out.
Which you can check out. It's on the website. You can go there. You can get phenomenal bucket hats. You can get, I'll put it up. I'll share the screen at some point. I'll show you what you can get there, but you can go check out the store and get some CLNS merch if you want as well. So we do appreciate you there, but also another great way to get it is get a freebie when you, when you support our sponsor. We will eventually be giving out special codes, which you will get, and it'll allow you to go right to the store and just get the shirt yourself rather than wait for us to ship it to you. It'll be a lot easier that way. So check that out. So let us talk about it. Okay. Let's get into the hot topic of the night was, oh my God, look at the bench rotation. Queta first off the bench. Where's Luke? Where's Luke? I don't know. Luke's a DNP-CD in a preseason game. And yes, maybe there's a reason behind it. Maybe he was never expected to play, and that's fine. But Queta not only played ahead of him, played big minutes and played well and played with the starters too, because there's no Horford tonight. Queta had to come in as the first big off the bench, which was interesting. And that might happen. That might happen on back-to-backs, right? Where Al sits, you're going to have to, and we were like, okay, on those nights, Kornet's minutes are going to have to get up. Maybe it's Queta's minutes that are going to go up.
I'm thinking that too.
What, if anything, do you read into this and or the play of Queta so far? Because he is everybody's darling. These guys tend to sometimes fizzle. You get that big look.
Kevin
Jelly,
Kevin Jelly.
Calvin Jelly. Calvin Jelly.
This might be different though, guys. I don't know, man. Like he just fits that criteria of the bruiser / the cleanup guy. You know what I mean? He can get the putbacks. He's not afraid to throw down. I think this is an opportunity to show more of that. If you ask me, right? If you're Joe Mazzulla, well, how does this look with the other guys, with the starters, with being one of the first bigs off the bench? How does he handle that? And it's a great opportunity against a team like the Hornets. I've been impressed, honestly. I think Celtics can. We've been saying that all summer that they could use someone like that, right? That bruiser that can, defend down low, pick up a bunch of fouls. He's not going to play any more than 10, 12 minutes, if that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it's a great alternative. It's a great weapon for Joe Mazzulla to have on nights when Al's out.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to give your hot take, Josue?
What? Oh, you want me to say it? Or what do you? I want to hear what you say first, then I'll say it.
Okay, so I love Queta. Brilliant player in the G League last year, top 5 in the MVP race. I'm still stunned they got him. It was an amazing pickup. I don't know why the Kings just dumped him to sign JaVale McGee. I think it was a pretty bad move, but he hasn't played much at the NBA level yet. So you're still waiting. Tonight's a little closer, and he was brilliant, obviously. The pick and roll game he showed with Tatum there late in the second was awesome. Awesome rebounder. He made one of the craziest offensive rebounds I've ever seen. Like stutter stepping along the baseline and firing out to the corner, and Banton ended up losing it, but it was just an awesome play. I think he even got credit for it, and then it was a turnover. But he brings some good energy to the position. Size, as Josue said, 7 foot 250. He moves well. When I saw him in New York, where it was the first time he played in that back-to-back, the way he could get out on the perimeter surprised me a little bit. He might have more defensive potential than just dropping back. Not the best rim protector. I know he's no Porzingis out there, but this is a great find. You have this guy in a two-way, John, and you don't even I know everyone in the chat's going to be like, sign him, but you can use him for like 40, 50 games as a two-way guy and not pay him a cent to your cap. So it's an incredible find. They're going to utilize him. I was checking around on if this race is for real, because obviously he's played well. And, what I've heard is that Kornet's still the front runner here. He's still viewed as that backup. But rather than Queta being a guy who's going to ship right up to Maine when their season starts, he might be a guy who's hanging around and actually in the mix to play some here, depending on matchups or whatever else might be. Kornet's not going anywhere, though. Still a guy they really trust. Still a guy they really like. Defensively, I think he's in all the right spots. Joe's praised him.
Substitute the word "they" with "I" and then continue.
Right? I think he's on the bubble, Bobby.
All right, go ahead, say it.
I think he's on the bubble. I think when you look at the way this team wants to defend, its identity, some of that grit, that toughness, the things that I just described, I'm not quite sure if Kornet can provide that on a night-to-night basis, even on second nights of back-to-backs when Al's not playing. The way they've been defending at a high level, triggering the fast break and getting back, cleaning up the glass. I don't know. I think this is the better option. I think this wouldn't shock me if the Celtics decide to cut ties and like for reasons that you just mentioned, money reasons to pull back a little bit there. You got someone that can sort of give you something else that you don't get from Kornet. You don't see from Kornet on a consistent basis. This team is shifted heavily into what do you call it? They're trying to bring back that defensive identity that they were with the Ime Udoka team, but it's a little different, right, guys? Right. They have other weapons now. They have 3-point shooters that they didn't have. They have a 7-3 unicorn in the middle and Kristaps Porzingis, and then you fit someone like this coming off the bench. I mean, look, it makes a lot of sense. Again, it wouldn't shock me if they cut ties with Kornet. I don't think it's something that they have to do or that they absolutely, it would be dumb if they didn't, but it wouldn't shock me if they did.
Yeah, I mean, how are we selling on Kornet after a few shaky games in the preseason?
It's not shaky, Bobby. It's ultimately, when you're a person who is, and again, I'm trying to do this without it sounding like I'm not trying to be insulting, but
I know exactly what you mean, John. Remember, Bobby, before we recorded or after the fact, I think it was, I was like, look, I'm not trying to what I think what you're trying to say is that you're not trying to call Kornet soft, right? I don't want to say that, but I just think it's another type of player.
It's not, let's be serious. Kornet doesn't have a stranglehold on an NBA roster spot anywhere. Okay. No. He's not a lock. He's a guy who was out of the league 2 years ago, and he was resurrected because the Celtics had 9 guys they could suit up, and they had to bring him back in there. So he's a very, very, very fringy player to begin with. He's not an automatic rotation guy. He's not locked into your 8-9 spot. He's not locked into minutes. He's a break glass in case of emergency, and I'm 7 feet tall all day sort of guy. But that's it. If he gets slightly outplayed by anybody, of course he can get removed. You're not losing anything there. He exists because you didn't have anything better, And that's where he would exist on most rosters. And this is not meant to be an insult. Those guys have jobs for a reason. There are guys who stick on rosters because of, a particular skill. In his case, his skill is height. And I'm not saying this in a disparaging way, but that's what he's got going for him. But if you're bringing in somebody else who can do what he does and give you a little bit more juice, of course he's at risk here. He's not a lock by any means, nor is it insulting to say that he could lose his spot. Like, that's just where he's at.
Right.
That's who he is. That's his reality. I think, like, with all due respect, I'm not going at you on it either. I'm really not. We tease you about the Kornet stuff. I really do believe you have him.
But it was the same conversation.
I think in your mind he's about 20% better than the rest of us think he is. That's about
it.
Like,
you got him as like a borderline everyday player.
Well, we had the same.
You have him as a guy who you think should
roster.
be getting 8 to 10 minutes every night, and we're like, nah, yeah, when you absolutely need it, that's it. That's that's where we differ on it.
We had the same conversation going in the last year. It's like, really, are they going to rely on him for secondary minutes here? And when Rob was out for that huge stretch to start the season, he hurt his ankle early, but when he comes back, we were pleasantly surprised by how well he played. He gave them good secondary minutes against most teams. Now, he's matchup dependent, right? He can't get out on the perimeter. It's the Kornet contest, which we've determined hasn't worked here. So there's going to be matchups where you can't play him, and you're going to have to go to some other stuff, whether it's small ball or Queta or whatever it is. But against the teams that you can clog up the middle with him, he's done a great job. I mean, I said it the other day, John, or last week. They went into a game against Joel Embiid with no Horford, no Rob last year, and started Blake and played Luke heavy minutes against Embiid, the league MVP, and they won. And it's because he gives them solid minutes out there. He's not grabbing 15 rebounds. And
I know, but Bobby, what you're suggesting is you're basically kind of borderline suggesting that Kornet is irreplaceable. And of course he could be replaced, and it's not that difficult to do so. That's kind of the point.
But it
you don't have to
you
don't have to. It's not a very tall hurdle to get past to be able to get beyond Kornet on the depth chart. That's kind of what we're saying.
Next to that, we're having a Luke Kornet intervention with Bobby.
I just can't wait for his first big regular season game this year to go. There you go. Remember the Suns game, John? What do you have? 14
No,
points,
I don't.
7-7. throwing down reverse dunks.
He's like, John, he had a double. How do you forget? Come on.
We're all gonna remember where we were when Luke Kornet.
Everyone still remembers that Horford game, by the way, that I said that. But
the Philly one, I give you that. But I don't know. I mean, listen.
He had a rock solid year last year.
You got to, but you also got to remember too, Bobby. Like, this team is a lot more. There's new voices on that bench, right? Whole new coaching staff. A lot of people who've been around the league for a long time.
That's a fair point.
I'm not saying that the second Sam Cassell walked in there was just like, yo, you guys really want to keep this guy? I'm not saying that, but after training camp, after preseason, like everyone voicing their opinion, it wouldn't
sign this guy.
They go this route. If they say, look, let's just let's just try to put together a much more intimidating second unit with new faces, guys who aren't gonna cost us less money. We can start trimming, some of this payroll now before the second apron hits. And Kornet just might be one of those guys that just gets sacrificed. I
can't say Wendy and Gabriel would have to pass him to make him not be on this roster. They're going to keep him at $1 million or $2 million, whatever it is. It's just who's going to back up the 10 to 12 minutes that we've talked about here behind Horford, behind Porzingis. And this brings us to the starting lineup conversation, John, because if they only start Porzingis, on most nights they won't need either of these guys to play. It's if they go double big, which I still suspect they're thinking about here, that they'll actually need 10 to 12 minutes of one of these guys.
How can you be on so many islands at once? That's what I ask you. Like Kornet Island and Double Big Island, just reside on one island. Pick one island.
Hey, I gotta bring the takes here. That's what people are tuning in for.
I absolutely do.
Bobby wants to just preserve those 8, 9, 10 minutes for Luke.
And he can do that. That's the thing. I'm not. If Horford has to miss time here, or Porzingis goes down for 2 weeks, you're in a situation, neither of these guys are cutting it if that's what happens. I don't think you can play these guys 20 minutes, 30 minutes a game. So you're going to have to find someone in that situation. And it might be inevitable that they have to do that anyway. But for the 8-10 minutes when everyone's healthy and during a regular season game, I think Kornet's perfectly suited to do that. And I'm not knocking Queta. I like him a lot too. I like what he's bringing to the table here. I think he's a good prospect to push forward into the future. You know, we always talk about the double draft, John. Having him here is a guy that Sacramento developed a little bit, and now you can take advantage of is great. And he looks phenomenal so far. So I think there's room for both of these guys.
Yeah, here's the thing: is why not us? You know what I mean? Is like, you see Strus, you see guys, undrafted free agents, second round picks,
now.
Hit, and you're like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
They got one. Like, and like, well, why did the Celtics let that guy go? And why don't the Celtics get a guy where we can say, why did they let that guy go? Maybe they have one, like, I think in most cases we're preconditioned to not believe the hype. Like, again, the Kevin Jelly hype. Like, you see a little flash and you're like, that's kind of exciting. He can jump, like maybe they can use him. And then you get in the regular season and he doesn't play for the first 12 games.
Noah was playing big minutes to start last year.
Jimmy's darling, Noah Vonleh. And like, and after 10, 12 games, you're like, yeah, no, this
was gone.
Nothing. But like, what if he is something? Like, what if you have something? Like, let's take it one step further.
That I'll remember. I'll never forget that.
Why can't we imagine a world in which not only he makes it over Kornet or plays over Kornet, but actually is a valuable piece? Like, why don't we take it one step further and say, like, what if they found something real? That would be amazing. Like,
oh yeah. And I think you can throw Delano Banton in there too. Toronto just let him go, and it looks like he fits in well with what they're doing here, and Joe likes him a lot. So you're always looking for these guys. I think they have a ton of them on this roster, and quite a few of them have shown out so far. Lamar Stevens, we should get to too. I think he looks fantastic.
But also, again, I do want to point this out. Look how far down the bench he is. We thought this is a guy who started games last year, right?
Queta?
Stevens.
Oh yeah, Stevens, 25 games started.
Yeah.
He's like the 12th guy on this team right now.
Yeah.
Look who else is really low. Brissett
was a pretty big part of Indiana's rotation.
And very low. So this is what's interesting now. You've got guys who were legit players on other teams. Even Svi, got some run. There's a few guys out here who are professional basketball players, albeit guys who played on crap teams and played minutes because those teams had no interest in winning.
Yeah, I was going to say, Svi was on Charlotte, man.
Yeah.
But
didn't have great lineups, but they're actually professional. The Celtics have been filling with a lot of G Leaguers, the bottom of that rotation now. For all the fear that no bench, you might actually make an argument that there's some professional basketball players on this bench. And of all of that, Banton is the guy who seems to be getting the most run and the earliest run off of the others. If you lump them all together, Stevens, Queta, Brissett, Banton, Svi, Banton's getting in there. So they, in addition to Hauser and Pritchard, who I think are certainly going to get some minutes early, you may have a few people that you can, use and utilize from time to time. It's not the worst, we'll see how it plays in the regular season, but I'm curious if any of them actually play,
Yeah, same.
Are they going to cut it at 8 and that's that? Or will they work some of those guys in? And if so, which ones? And I'm curious who you guys think has the inside track after the first 8. If you include Pritchard and Hauser in the 8, then what?
See, I want to say Brissett, but from what I've seen from the from the preseason games, I'm wondering if he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be fighting, to get in there. But I mean, I'm thinking Brissett and Banton. I feel like still has a way to sort of, he's got to get more comfortable with the offense. There's times where I feel like he's getting there. And other times I feel like he takes a big step back. So it's hard to say, but I mean, those are the two guys I think of off the top.
Yeah, Brissett obviously intrigued me most coming in. Shoots 30% though in the preseason, 12% from 3. I think it's going to be tough for any of these guys who struggle to shoot to break through consistently, given the way they want to play. Banton in that group too. He really struggles to even get to 30% so far through his career. So it's going to be a challenge for all those guys, especially.
I'm coming back, guys. Sorry, 40%. 1 second.
especially if Hauser's still a 40% guy.
Right.
You know, for any of them to break past him is going to be tough. But the one guy I keep looking at, and he played well again tonight, Lamar Stevens. Yeah, not a great shooter, but a guy who's gotten by, just came off his best year from three, actually, I think around 33%. You know, I interviewed his trainer last week. He thinks that he'll be closer to 35 this year. And that dunk tonight, he has a few dunks this preseason. The rebounding, super strong. Defensively, you know what he's capable of. He can defend most positions. When I was talking to him at practice, he said 2 through 5 he can defend, which isn't even the case for Brissett. Like, we've seen Brissett play some center and have some trouble there. Against wings and guards, he can get blown by. Stevens is a pro-level defender who, as John said, started games on the best defense in the NBA a year ago. He hasn't played a lot in the preseason, and I think the reason for that is that they kind of know what he is. They know he's at his best when he's playing next to the regulars, and that they're trying to let some of these other tryout guys, have their run and shoot shots and all that. But I'm pretty confident if they're in a game, Josue, where they're down big early or the energy just isn't there, all of a sudden Lamar Stevens is going to be checking into that game.
Yeah, I could see that for sure, especially because he's able to defend the wing at a high level. I mean, that's essentially what got him that got him into that starting lineup, right? In Cleveland. Cleveland just couldn't. They had a really hard time defending, especially at the wing position. He sort of just emerged as one of those guys that just, locked down as best as he could and provided more possession.
Yeah, he provided out there.
Extra possession. I think that's what essentially got the attention from the Celtics, right? They need someone like that, a secondary wing defender that can come in, eat up minutes from Tatum or Brown if they're in foul trouble, help stop the bleeding, defend some of the better players on the opposing team. And I'm with you too, Bob. I think that they know that already about him. And I feel like that's something that's an opportunity that's going to be there for him, at some point this season. It could be right from the beginning. So yeah, if he's able to, take on that role and raise his eyebrows, then I think it's his spot for the taking. I don't see another wing, a guy from at the wing position that's like a shoo-in, over him, right? And that's, I mean, if you're the Celtics, you're still looking at your top six being like, I mean, this is still a championship. This team could still win a championship the way it is, but you're wondering how the makeup of that second unit is going to look like, especially out of the gates. And we got somewhat of an idea from these preseason matchups, but that part, though, that role is still sort of up in the air, right? It's still up for grabs in the sense of like who's going to be that eighth, ninth guy who can always get minutes, who's always going to have minutes ready for him.
This is going to take a little getting used to some of this new CBA stuff, but the Celtics can't sign buyout guys this year, which is worth noting. But yeah, we're talking Stevens, John. I'm pretty intrigued by him.
I'm really curious who of those guys is going to have any value.
I think Stevens just brings the best mix of defense.
For sure.
Pedigree playing so far, starting games for a really good team. The energy, I don't know how much you caught in the fourth quarter him tonight because, everyone starts snoozing. But
the big dunk,
the rebounds, like he does a
Bobby,
lot. I
watched the games, Bobby.
I didn't know if you were interested in the Kornet time of the game. But yeah, I like him a lot. I loved him in Cleveland. Another guy I'm surprised that they got for a training camp deal, not even a minimum. He came in as a tryout guy here. So there's some intrigue with Svi. I don't know how much he intrigues you, John.
A lot.
The shooting's ridiculous.
I love, he's just a classic, like 1980s Euro player,
Where did he go tonight? He had what? 2 of 8, 2 of 7 from 3. So he slowed down a little bit, but coming into that, he was 54% from 3.
Yeah.
He really struggles to defend, though. He does.
Yeah. No, he does.
I'm bummed about O'Shea. He really has struggled this preseason.
Derek, Derek, I like the effort. It's not bad.
I feel like he's more of a 90s-year-old. No, John?
Thank you for anybody, by the way. Super chats. If we missed one, I apologize. All of the proceeds go to the hosts, not to the greedy, nefarious owner, Nick Gelso. So we do appreciate that for anybody
nefarious.
There. Yeah. Yes, I burned my pies. I had a pie crisis. That's why I had to go.
Who's your pick on that group, John?
I don't know. I swear.
So do you trust Hauser? That's the real question. It's not can any of these guys break through.
It's not whether. So I don't. I don't think Hauser's a guarantee. I really don't. I actually think it'll be game dependent too, depending on who's out there and what you need. You know?
Yeah. I agree with that.
And you might play lineups that are a little bit more athletic, more defensive oriented, or you might be, I think Hauser is the default, but I do think you could easily see situations like last year, guys, where Hauser's in a cold snap and they forget about him for a little bit.
He went cold for 2 months before they finally sat him down.
Exactly. And they forget about him a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They have other directions to go if that happens again. And it did to start this preseason.
And again,
3 for 16.
I want to stress this again because everybody says it. Absolutely, he is. We know he is.
John doesn't care about defense.
And no, it's not that, Bobby. it's the thing we always say is you can't when you're getting into players 8, 9, 10, 11 on your team, they're obviously going to have some flaw. Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't be players 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They would be starters. So that's the point is like, you can't tell me the 9th guy on the team can't do something. We know he can't do something. It's a pick your poison situation. I think where Joe last year, probably admittedly, was so afraid to play certain people because he didn't want to lose games for making bad decisions. So he played the shit out of his starters way, way, way more than he should have. You have to just live with it. Like I said, is look at Milwaukee and what they do with Giannis minutes. He averages 32. They just are like, no friggin' way am I going to play this guy until the playoffs 40 minutes a night. I'm not doing it. It's not important enough. So you just live with imperfection. For periods of time. You bring in guys. There are guys who start in this league who you can point out 12 things they don't do well. Like it's just some guys are there and they shoot really well, or they play some defense, or they or they won't. Having an elite skill is great, and obviously Hauser has one. Svi shoots all day. Elite being able to score.
That's the thing. All these guys
does a lot for you. Like I take that over a guy who's just in the way, and you're basically playing 4-on-5 for 10 minutes, or 5 minutes. I don't want to see that.
That's the thing that's good about this bench. They have mostly minimum guys, but all of them do have one skill that really intrigues you. Svi in the shooting, the offensive rebounding and defense. In Stevens' case, O'Shea has really played with some amazing energy at the 4 as a cutter, especially is his skill. Svi's shooting, and you go down the line. Banton really screens well and just seems to know this offense super well, which Joe likes. So they have a number of guys, none of them even mid-level guys, who can do something for you, which is, again, a credit to Brad Stevens, who built this roster really well. They really have a group that's new and different, but is super intriguing, even on this bottom half that we're debating here, which could have stunk, John. As you said, G League guys, cast-offs, undrafted rookies. It could have been any of those kind of guys, but they ended up with some intriguing players.
Bobby, do you have like all your dishes below your seat or something? What's
no? I got my light here.
Okay, it's like you're kicking a tray of dishes or something.
Yeah, like right underneath. Yeah.
There we go. Be good.
No, that's a good point, Bobby. But we also have to give Brad Stevens a lot of credit for that, right? Because I feel like he's able to bring in these guys who aren't going to break the bank. They're in that point of the career where they're not quite out of the league, but they have that opportunity to show that they've been in the league long enough that they're just waiting for an opportunity. They're driven, and I think that's why it's also difficult to gauge which one's going to break through, right? Who's going to solidify that spot? But it's intriguing because you can see potential in all these guys. And I don't think that was always the case last year or even 2 years ago, right? Like how many times there were like 3-4 guys you were just like, there's no way these guys are going to get solid playing time, and you were kind of just like hoping 3-4 months into the season that, maybe Romeo, because he had like 9 points one game, like he's going to break through. I think this is completely different, right? Like these guys, like one of them is going to latch onto this rotation. You're going to get something out of those guys, out of that person.
Yeah, John, how many times did we ask for some of those old bench guys like Romeo? What did they do?
We just wanted them to grow up like that.
Right.
And
exactly.
It was unrealistic, Bobby.
Romeo
these guys are different.
Yeah, these guys can do certain things. Romeo legit could do nothing. At
and
best,
it's not just him though, but that's just a good example.
But he's a good example of a guy
who's kind of like that.
Yabusele,
Semi's exactly that guy. Semi was every minute Semi played just
Wanamaker.
You can go down the list.
But like Romeo was a classic case of just doesn't do anything. Like he's just a body, right?
Yeah.
Offensively, nothing, just a body. He could play some defense, but he would never get the benefit of the doubt on calls, and that would negate whatever. I actually still think he could have been a legit bench D guy. But
whoa. Why you say past tense, man? You think it's over?
I think Bobby nailed it. We were talking the other day. Every time he gets cut, which is like every other day now.
Every time he gets cut,
I'm like, get him. But he got waived, and like Bobby's like I don't think he likes basketball, and I was like, that might be it. Like he might just not.
I hate to say that because we had that conversation at Summer League, and it's like I hate when people say I don't like basketball, but I don't know. Something's not clicking there. Maybe it's the injuries. I think you rehab enough times.
A lot of setbacks. Yeah. It gets mental.
Mental. And he certainly struggled with the shot and all the rest. So we'll see if someone picks him up. I'd have to say if Danny, who drafted him in Utah, who's developed so many of these unsung guys, didn't want him, it's not a great sign. San Antonio can make it work with him.
No. Well, San Antonio's like, we're doing something real now. So we're going to see you later.
We got a lot.
That was the Derek White trade, John.
I gotta pay a lot of attention to what's going on here. So that's good stuff. Celtics, like we said, they start Wednesday. These guys will be heading down to New York.
I'm gonna ask you, John, before we wrap.
Yeah.
Who starts on Wednesday?
Well, I mean, again, I don't want to have this conversation because then I'll get angry for no reason. Because I mean, I guess I don't know, but I never at any point in time until that first preseason game when Holiday came off the bench did it ever enter my mind that he might be coming off the bench. And so I really believe what you saw tonight and what you saw last game is the lineup, and it's always been the lineup. I never at any point in time thought Holiday or White were coming off the bench ever. I've never thought it. I don't believe they're going double big.
That's what made the trade so incredible, right? Well, the fact that it happened because no one sort of saw that, going to be the Celtics. Like no one saw the Drew Holiday thing, days before. But that's what made it exciting. The thought of putting those two together in the backcourt.
Ever. And so, and again, for multiple reasons. One, I mean, Holiday's a freaking all-star. You're not trading for a guy and putting him on the bench. Like, it's ridiculous to think White, the way he played last year, he was your second best player. I mean, it's like he was so good. We were screaming for more minutes. And third, like you're limited in what you have in terms of big bodies. So it makes sense to split. I thought it made sense to split Al and Rob. It certainly makes sense to split Kornet and Al because you don't have anything you love coming up behind it. So for all the reasons it makes sense. I've never understood it. I think they were trolling us the whole time. It was just respectful, deferential. They're respectful to Al to not say openly he's on the bench without talking to him and making sure he understands it and blah blah blah,
Maybe, yeah, that could
so
have been
that's I think maybe out of respect to Al that's it, but I don't believe for 1 second Joe in his mind had ever considered this not being the lineup.
Yeah, that might explain more why Drew, when I asked him, was just like, yeah, I'll do whatever, knowing that he won't come off the bench. But I still think it's a real possibility. I think there's been enough smoke behind it to make you think that could happen on certain nights that they want to go double big. And again, I try to explain this when Jimmy and I were going back and forth over it last game. Just because he's coming off the bench doesn't mean it's going to be the 20-minute thing like Brogdon did last year, or limited minutes. He'll play far more than Horford does. Horford will still take a back seat. It's just about the combination to start the game. And Joe, I guess, actually kind of went off about it to start the game or pregame tonight. He's starting to get frustrated with the conversation and said it's not even about starters. It doesn't matter. It's just the 5 guys on the floor to start the game, and then the closing lineup is what we're really talking about.
Or did we ever consider this?
No. Can't say I have.
Here's what I want to end with, Bobby. A lot of people in the chat think you're sad. Because of 2 things. Because it's possible both your 2 islands, are both like sinking. They're like your dream of Kornet and double big might have died on the same night, and everyone thinks you're sad. So can you tell people
someone said you
sad?
had the Arthur clenching fists going right now.
Yeah, Arthur.
I'm certainly concerned about what's going on with Luke here this preseason.
He's concerned. He's gonna.
But
you were concerned after, or no, you were a little concerned after I said it, and then when he played after that New York game, you were like, "He's good, he's safe."
Well, yeah, I mean, you gave the full run to Queta tonight, which is interesting. Obviously, you want to see extended minutes for both those guys, but Kornet was pretty limited last game against the Knicks too. He had that one first half run, but since Horford was coming off the bench, he really didn't play a ton the rest of the way. So, yeah, there's some concern on that end for me. But double big, there's going to be a lot of double big. I still think, especially with Joe teasing starters by committee, John, maybe it's not next Wednesday, but maybe against the Heat the next night. Holiday's coming off that bench and Horford starting. There's going to be different combinations throughout the year. All I know, especially after tonight, you mentioned White off the top, don't sit White, ever. Like, it's the easy move. He's going to, like, if you're Joe and you're worried about how Al feels and Holiday's coming in as a star, you don't want to put him on the bench. The easy decision is White, who's like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, not even, thinking twice about it. Don't diminish his role on this team at all. He should be out there with the starters. He should be out there setting a tone to start games.
Hey, salute.
I just love where White's at right now.
Yeah. Last thing I will say. One, like, chat's been awesome tonight.
Yo, it has, man. Y'all bringing it. Appreciate it.
Good, funny, goofy.
Which, by the way, John, real quick, like if when we're talking about something like semi-serious, if you guys just see me like smiling, I'm not laughing at what they're saying. I'm reading the comments. That's what it is.
No, it's fun.
This chat, man, they want to see Kornet and Horford's demise. They really do.
No, chat's been great. But what's fun, what I do want to say is also, I mean, that's what like kind of the optimism, I think of what could be, does for us. And also I want to just show people, I want to, people to know that we can do these shows when the Celtics are doing well. Also, it's much more fun to talk about what the possibilities rather than just crapping over Jaylen Brown, dribbling into the, into people.
You didn't bring up Brown once tonight.
No, because I mean, look, again, to me, Brown is the key to Brown is he will be asked to do less, and I believe if he embraces that, he will end up doing more. My only fear with Brown potentially is kind of like, he was forgotten when it was just Tatum. What happens if we go through stretches where it's just not flowing through him? Is he going to disappear, go in and out and this and that? And then when he does get it, feel like he has to force it because it's like, geez, I haven't touched it in a while. So it's how they play together and share the touches that you want to see. That's going to be a big concern when you have, like, when you put a bunch of stars together, the sharing of the ball is always an issue, and with Brown, it's been an issue with less talent. I'm really curious how it is with this much talent. I'm not condemning it one way or the other. I am, like, oh, he's just gonna, like, tonight was perfect. I mean, it's like, I mean, you can't say anything about it.
This is a perfect.
No, I get you, John. It's like is he just gonna like join in with the crowd or be the oddball? Like that's what the philosophy from the beginning has been all about teamwork. And you're hearing guys talking about how there's a lot more drills with other guys involved, whereas before there's a lot more one-on-one work. And I think it's all, relative in the sense of everyone's going to have to sort of sacrifice a little bit, right? I mean, you talk about what Joe Mazzulla said before tonight's game, and he doesn't want to hear any of that when it comes to people starting because they're a team. They're going to do it's all about what's best for the team. And when guys start, when the narrative starts to become, oh, this guy is not crazy about his minutes or this and that, that's when you see dysfunction. And if there's one thing the Celtics tend to run into is dysfunction, or, like one way or another, or every other year there's something or some sort of rift, and you're hoping you see less of that this year going in with a lot of new guys and a new look.
It feels that Bobby's there every day, and he's said it a bunch of times, and I have been down a couple of times, and I kind of get the same vibe too. It's business-like, but not like not fun.
Remember how goofy it would be sometimes last year?
Like goofy. It was, Brown and friggin' and I mean, not Brown, Grant and White and those stupid horse games.
Oh yeah, it's not goofy. Yeah,
but then it was also
Smart on the floor, throwing the ball.
Smart doing trick shots and looking around like, did anybody see that? Everyone's like, yeah, man, we did, like, and then Tatum would be like, I'm going to go all the way over here and work out by myself, which is what he does every time.
Yeah, it's so
Not
true.
even talk to anybody. He's just a far court with a coach, I'm going to, you guys, whatever, So like, yeah, it does feel like it's a little bit more locked in.
Yeah, and before the Warriors game, they lost on the road there, the rematch of the finals. It was just like it was like a bus ride in the locker room. Everyone was just joking around and like fighting over their colleges, and then Jalen walks in just with like his headphones on, locked in, but everyone else is just like, it was a very, at times, I almost compared it like a bunch of like college friends, just like cracking jokes, guys who have been around together for years. It was a loose vibe to last year's team. Like that was the word I used most often about last year's team, was just how loose they were. The focus waned, their consistency was all over the place. They were very inconsistent. And this year's team just seems to be a little bit more locked in. These guys aren't as familiar with each other. There's definitely some deference toward the guys who are coming in, right? A lot of respect for these guys, and they are veterans who are very focused on coming in and winning. Holiday has already won a championship in his case, so there's obviously a willingness to listen to him, and it's just a little bit more fresh, which this team obviously needed. Brad decided they needed. There's still like that whole conversation of like, oh, the Brogdon trade fell apart, so that's why Smart's gone. I still don't think that's the real.
Like I said, they were both. It was very likely they were both gone. Yeah. It really was. I think they were ready to move off both guys. Anyway, we are going to wrap it. We do appreciate you guys hanging out. It was a good chat. It was a fun night. It's been a fun preseason. So everybody who's been along for the ride, that's great. We're psyched. First of 82 coming up on Wednesday. Real quick, tell you once again, check out FanDuel. Sign up at fanduel.com/Boston. 200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. That's all you have to do. $5, America's #1 sports book and the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Also, if you want to help it along, go to oddsr.com/Celtics. This is not a sports book, but they're going to help you bet smarter. Oddsr.com/Celtics. Download the app, get a 30-day free trial when you sign up. And what else do we have? Let's do HelloFresh. Why not? America's everything is #1. We're #1 on this show. America's #1 meal kit. Okay.
Is that the first question you guys ask?
If you're #1,
you guys are #1 of the things that you do.
When the advertisers call Guy, and they're like, we'd like to, put these guys on your show. Guys, like, are they #1? Are these guys like, is your product the best? Because only then will be accepted. And HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Again, HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. Use that code CLNS50 for 50% off free shipping. And someone mentioned this in the chat, so I'm going to throw it up there now.
Yeah, good call.
Yes, it is like this during the game on the Discord. It's a good group of people in there, hanging out, chatting, very fun. Sign up right now, clnsmedia.com/Discord if you want to keep up with the chatter while you're waiting for us to come on here. And then, then you can yell at us about the dumb shit that we say here. And that's fine. We like that. Once again, Celtics defeat the Hornets in a laugher, in a fun, impressive game. Starters versus starters. Yeah. 127-99.
Charlotte played everyone.
Charlotte played their people, and it was ridiculous. And Celtics didn't even play their best game. It looked like they barely broke a sweat. Put up 127. It was unreal. So, yeah, fun night, fun preseason. We're back early next week. We're going to do a preview show. We're going to have all our bold predictions. Ooh, that's going to be fun.
They'll be bold, John. Don't worry. They'll be bold.
Be really bold. Jimmy's are always bold, bordering on ridiculous, but they're fun. But thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight and throughout the preseason. Regular season starts on Wednesday, preview show Monday or Tuesday. Follow us at Celtics Twitter or any of our Twitter handles here, and you'll see notifications. Thanks a lot.